Hey guys, this is a video request from quite a few people, and it is about wanting to know my advice for teenagers who are wanting to kind of dive headfirst into Wicca or paganism. I guess the first thing I'd have to say is at least try to talk to your parents. If you haven't seen it, go check out Charming Pixie Flora's video on this. I think it's called Advice to Those Under 18, and she has some really good information on how to talk to your parents about this. If that doesn't work, and I know, guys, how it is. I grew up in a Southern Baptist household with some extremely devout Christian parents. My grandfather is super high up in the Southern Baptist community, and obviously I'm not going to tell you who he is because that would cause problems for the both of us, most likely. However, I know how it is, and I know sometimes it's just not what it would have been. So sometimes you just got to stay in the broom closet. Now, I'm in no way, shape, or form advocating sneaking around or lying to your parents. However, I know that sometimes it's just not possible. So, the first thing that I would have you do is get a notebook or a spiral or a composition notebook and use it as your book of shadows. Now, the first thing that you should write in this is, I want you to write out your beliefs. What I mean by that is to really sit down with yourself and go into your heart center and figure out what you really, truly believe. Not what your parents tell you to believe, not what your friends tell you to believe, what you truly believe. Then once you've done that, you really have a basis to figure out what past and spiritualities really align with what you truly believe. The next thing I would suggest that you do is learn how to meditate. If you see me looking down, I've got notes here. And a lot of people meditate nowadays, so it's not really something that people are going to say, ooh, what is she doing? She must be a witch or whatever. You can look it up online. You can get books about it. Just really try to be pretty adept at meditating before you move on to the next step. And this may take a while. For those of you that aren't very good with visualization, this may take 3 or 4 months. I know it took me quite some time. Not only is this going to be something that is extremely beneficial to you in the long run, you can really learn more about yourself doing it, and that's really what it's all about. Then once you learn how to meditate, go and spend about a week, if you can, or 2 or 3 days with each of the elements. Either start in the north or the east, whichever you feel comfortable with. Pick one. Let's say you start in the east. That's air. So you want to go out on a very windy day and just sit like on top of a hill or out in a field and feel how air feels to you. When you know what air feels like and what it symbolizes to you and how it makes you feel, write it down in your book of shadows. Then go to the south quarter. Continue for each of the elements. And another little trick you can do is, while you're studying the elements, like say you're studying earth, collect rocks. Nobody's going to look at you and think you're a weirdo for collecting rocks. A lot of people do it. For air, go out and find feathers. For water, now that could be a little questionable, but go out and play in the rain. For fire, light candles all in your room. If you're allowed, nobody's going to think you're weird for lighting candles. Once you've done that, try to connect with your spirit guides. Again, Charming Pixie Flora has some great videos on it. Ask them to talk to you. Ask them to give you messages. Ask them for help right before you go on a big test, or you're learning how to do something new, or ask them to appear to you in a dream or meditation. Then once you've done that, if you believe in God, try to connect with God through your meditation. If you believe in Goddess, try to connect with Goddess. Then once you're done with that, you have a pretty good idea on how the main correspondences are to you. Don't try to get into herbs or crystals or tarot or anything like that yet. Just stick with the basics. Then once you've done that, if you can, what I would suggest is go to witchbox.com, and I'll put a link in the crotch bar or whatever we're calling it now, the description bottom bar thing. And find a coven or a mentor on there. And the way you do that is you sign up for a free account, and then you put in your zip code or your location or city or state or whatever, and it will pull up like a list on the left-hand side of the screen, and it has like poetry and articles and stuff like that, and then under that it's got groups. I think there's personals and then groups. And there's teen groups, college groups, adult groups, family groups. And when you click on those, it'll show you all of the covens in your area. Choose one of those and click on them, and it'll give you their location and phone number and email, and you can contact them. Click on, I think it's below all the groups, there's one called Clergy and Services, or Clergy/Services, or something like that. But it's got clergy, who are basically like high priests or high priestesses, or someone who has who's a legally ordained minister who can marry people, whatever. They'll have empowerment coaches, all kinds of stuff. And you can just contact one of them if they say that they are a mentor or a spiritual coach or a teacher or whatever, and see if they'll teach you. If you cannot do that, one option is to go to your local library, or sometimes college libraries will allow high schoolers to check out books if you tell them it's for school, and they'll let you use your ID card. But you can go and look at historical books. Now, not everybody is like me and likes to read reference books, but they're really good. Find one on Greek history, or Roman history, or Celtic, or Norse, or anything to do with cultural anthropology, or archaeology, or history. And in those books it will lay out, most of the time it will lay out which gods and goddesses they worshipped and how they did it. Now, it's not necessarily going to lay out a druidic ritual for you. However, it will say something like, the Celts celebrated a holiday called Beltane for fertility, and one of the practices that they did was they lit wagon wheels on fire and rolled them down a hill. And what this is going to do is, it's going to give you, once you have a good base of knowledge on 10 or 12 different cultures, it's going to give you a better understanding of which ones you're drawn to. You may be drawn to one that you had completely never heard of before, but there's a reason for that. And just keep the ones that you're really drawn to in the back of your head. The next thing I would say is, if you can't do that, or even if you can alongside of it, there's a site that I've come across that is great. Now, normally I don't advocate to like online witch schools, because most of the ones I've come across, you either have to pay for it, or if you don't, they're really wanting you to pay for something, and they send you shit tons of email, buy this for $3,000 or whatever, or they don't know their information, or it's strictly Gardnerian, or it's strictly Alexandrian, or whatever. Now, this one is called magicaschool.com. I'm enrolled in this course. I've got like 3 months left. But what it is I'll put a link in the description, like I said before, but you set up a free username, and then there's 2 free courses. There's Wicca Revealed, and there's Beginner's Tarot. I'm going to focus on Wicca Revealed. And when you click on that course, it's completely free. You sign up for it, and it's truly a year-and-a-day study program for beginners. Because from day 1, you only have access to lesson 1. And it's going to give you a ton of information, like 10 or 12 pages of information. So if you're not somebody who likes to read or can sit down with a book and really digest the information, then this is probably not for you. However, I think most of us pretty like to read. So then once you've done that, they'll have an exercise and a research project. These are completely optional. They're not graded, but they're great to do and write down in your Book of Shadows. Then you have 30 days to digest that information. They also have a recommended reading at the end of it, too. And you can check those books out at your local library, at a college, at more often than not your local library, or you can buy them off Amazon, or if you have a Kindle. Most of them are like under $3. And then there will be, when you come back to it, it'll say like take the quiz, and it's a 30-question multiple-choice quiz on what you've learned. Usually there's only 1 or 2 questions from the recommended reading, and if you don't read the books, you can just Google the answer. But if you Google the answer, read the page that you find the answer on and get that information from that website that you didn't get from the book. But it's a great website. I think the first lesson is like the history of Wicca. And then the second one is like the correspondences and the moon phases and stuff like that. And then the third is, I think the third is meditation and visualization. And then you don't get into actual ritual until like lesson 6. So it's really good. And the great thing about it is I think they are either Alexandrian or Corallian in tradition. You might not know what that is because obviously you're a teenager, but they really pull from, when they say like a practice for, like, let's say Ostara, they will tell you what it says in the Gardenian Book of Shadows or whatever, which one it follows, but they will also tell you what every other tradition does, well, for the most part. And then they'll also tell you what historically was practiced in different areas of the world. So they really give you a good perspective on things, and they really emphasize the need to personalize your rituals and your, junk like that. And then the only thing I can really say other than that is research. Research, because if you're just reading a bunch of books on history, yeah, people might think you're a nerd, but they're not all going to automatically assume, oh, they're a witch, or oh, they're Wiccan, or they're worshiping Satan, or whatever it may be. Your best option is to just research as much as you can and learn as much as you can while you're still young. I mean, I know, guys, you really want to start doing this as soon as you possibly can. And it seems like you really need to do it now, but I'm telling you from experience, you have all the time in the world. If you guys want me to do a series on this and, like, take you through step by step, like week 1, there'll be a lesson or whatever, I could do that. I'm not really, I don't know, I wasn't really planning on being like a spiritual coach or a teacher on this channel, but if that's something that you guys really want me to do, then obviously that's something I'm being called to do. So let me know if you would like to see a series on this. If you do, I'll guide you all through every step of the way. If you don't, that's fine too. I'll stick to my normal random ramblings and crap. And as far as altars and stuff like that goes, don't even worry about setting that up until you have your own place. And if you really are desirous of having one because you've already gotten to, like, lesson 6 in the Magica school and they're talking about altar setup and practicing casting a circle, check out my video on do-it-yourself. I think it's just called portable altars or portable mini altars or something like that. But you can make an altar this big that will fit in a matchbox. Or a little medicine bottle that is easily hidden and will definitely do the job. So now I think that's it. So until next time, blessed be.